So hello and welcome everybody to this webinar about private areas. This is a sneak peek at a new product and the features that are rolling out inside the private areas add-on, which is going live on July 31st, about 10 days from this actual webinar we're recording right now. So we're really excited to kind of talk a little bit about what it's all about, who it's for, why it's important, but also show you what it looks like, show you what you can do with it. We've got the early version that we're going to demo for you today. But I'm Chris Badgett. I'm joined here with the LifterLMS co-founder, Thomas Levy. How you doing, Thomas? Thomas is muted.
I'm muted. Good. I'm good. Thank you.
Awesome. And Thomas is going to be taking us on a tour of an install that has private areas running on it. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But I just want to thank everybody for coming today from all over the world, even Terry Lee down there where she's hot in Arizona. But I can tell you what, Terry, I am hot too in my attic. It's probably about over 100 degrees. I got a fan going, so hopefully this my computer doesn't melt down here. So it's hot in the northern hemisphere today, it sounds like. So, but again, welcome everybody to this sneak peek at a new product coming to the LifterLMS family called Private Areas. Private Areas officially drops on July 31st, and it's a single add-on. It's also available as part of the Infinity Bundle. Both of those have pre-purchase pricing that you can take advantage of, but we'll talk about that later. Allow me, please, to get my slides up, and then we're going to talk just a little bit about what it's all about and then get into the demo. So just 1 second, bear with me. Again, I'd like to welcome you to the Private Areas Sneak Peek webinar. We're going to be looking at an early version of the Private Areas add-on, which is coming soon on July 31st to LifterLMS. You can buy it individually. It's also part of the Infinity Bundle if you've already purchased that bundle or would like to. And before or by July 31st, July 31st is the launch party day of the Private Areas add-on. You can take advantage of pre-launch pricing. You can get Private Areas at a discount and lock in your subscription license pricing if you invest in it before July 31st. And also the cost of the Infinity Bundle is cheaper now than it will be on August 1st when the price goes up after the Private Areas add-on is added to that bundle. So now's a good time to check out Private Areas. And in terms of this webinar, I would encourage you to ask questions. Here in Zoom down below at the bottom, there is a question feature. So that's our preferred method of taking questions from you. We're going to kind of get through this short presentation. Then Thomas is going to do a screen share demo of a live install where Private Areas is active. So you can see that. And then after that, we're going to get into questions. So use that question feature below. And also, there's a chat. If you want to say something to the community, keep an eye on the chat. We're going to be dropping links in there too of some of the various other web pages and things we're talking about there. So if anything we're talking about outside of on other websites sounds interesting to you, keep an eye on the chat. Also, feel free to ask questions there. And then at the end of this call, we're going to take, if anybody wants to go live and raise their hand and do a live conversation, please do so, and we will take questions there as well. So getting into it, what are private areas? Well, private areas in a nutshell are private content per student, per course, and also there can be private conversations surrounding that post or that content area. So private areas are a private post or a series of posts that are unique to a student per course or unique to a member per membership. It's a way for the teacher to interact, to publish content, and then have a discussion around that content. And a private post You can put all kinds of multimedia content in there. That'll become a little more clear a little later in this presentation. So who is the private areas product for? Well, it's for coaches, mentors, teachers, consultants, professional trainers, and high value program creators. So it's okay to have a passive version of an online course, but private areas is more for active training or learning experiences where you want to have a personalized content area per student and get a little bit into some individualized learning and feedback and conversation in a private manner. So why are private areas important? Well, private areas are important because we've all read great books and all perhaps taken great online courses, but there was no real direct communication with the creator of the content and that sort of thing. There wasn't really a feedback loop for the student to, provide feedback in a private way about where they might be stuck, or for the teacher to publish private content specific to that student or learner or mentee. And that's really helpful because we're human beings and we're not all the same. LifterLMS does give you some very powerful automation tools in terms of scaling the human touch with robotics, as we like to say. But also, there is a time and a place for good old-fashioned, professional, personalized content and training and conversation in a learning experience. Private areas are also important for you as an entrepreneur to possibly consider if you look at the value economics. And what I mean by that is you may have, let's say hypothetically, a high value passive course with video lessons that it's designed to deliver a specific result that students pay $500 for. There's only so far you can take that. If you were to add that course plus private coaching, you may be able to develop a $5,000 offer that includes much more personalized interaction, some personalized content. Think of it this way. If I were a fitness trainer, I may have a training course to reach some kind of training outcome, and I might find that quite valuable. But if I were to come and see that course was offered and it was a good fit for me, and it also came with direct interaction and personalized content from that fitness trainer, that's much more valuable to me. So that's kind of the difference between the $500 or the $5,000 hypothetical program. But you can see how the economics change when you offer that personalized content and private conversation. Now, it's also important to note that private personalized conversation and content isn't always as scalable. And that's okay. Automation isn't everything. So it may cost more, but it's also likely going to require more of an investment of time by the teacher to create that private those private content or those private posts and engage in a meaningful way in those private conversations. So where and when can you get private areas? If you have access to private areas, the product, which is available in the LifterLMS store, you may have already purchased it, or right now before July 31st, if you purchase it during the pre-launch pricing window, you can pick it up for a discount and lock in the subscription pricing for that. Or if you already have or are about to purchase the LifterLMS Infinity Bundle, that's another great way to get access to the private areas add-on. Now, it's important to note that LifterLMS software licenses are subscriptions. They're annual subscriptions. And if you get private areas during this pre-launch window, you're locking in your subscription, your renewal at a lower rate. And it's also true that the Infinity Bundle, right now, before the end of July 31st, the private areas launch party day, if you get the Infinity Bundle now, you're going to be getting it at a lower price that it will not be available for that rate in the future. Currently, during this pre-launch pricing window between now and July 31st. You can get the Infinity Bundle, a personal license for $449. That price is going up after the launch of private areas, and then ultimately you will see the Infinity Bundle as more of the add-ons that we have mapped out. You can see all the details on the Infinity Bundle product page on the LifterLMS.com website. As all those future add-ons roll in, the Infinity Bundle will ultimately climb to a subscription price of just under $1,000 at $999. So now's a great time to pick up the Infinity Bundle at the lowest price it will be, which also gives you access to private areas when it drops on July 31st. So let's take a tour. Let's move outside the world of the theoretical and look at private areas on an install on a WordPress site, so you can start getting a sense of what it's all about. And I'd encourage you just to ask questions as Thomas takes us on a tour of private areas.
Cool. So we're just going to do a quick, well, hopefully not too quick. Chris says sometimes I explain things too quickly. So we'll try to make it a slightly less quick walkthrough of this. Oh, my whole screen changed. There we go. That was unnerving. If I'm going to be trying to pay attention to what's going on in the chat, but if anybody has any questions, just throw them into Q&A, like Chris said, and we'll cycle back through during the Q&A section. If I'm moving too quickly, again, just save your questions there, and we'll try to answer any of that. So this is I'll remind everybody, this is kind of an early release. We're not this is stable and functional, but it's not full featured yet. There's a couple of things we'll talk about at the end that will be done by the time we get out July 31st, that are right now all over my whiteboards and theoretical. And then there's a couple other things we're planning to roll out after that July 31st launch. So we'll share that stuff with you too. I'm going to skip everything about how to get LifterLMS rolling. If you don't know how to set up LifterLMS or get started, I'm sorry. You could send us support tickets, and we'll cover all that stuff with you later. You could check out Chris's office hours later if you have access to that. He can answer those questions. This is going to be specifically, we're assuming you already have a LifterLMS site. You generally understand how it works, and you just want to plug in the private areas add-on. So like anything, we're going to start. You'll upload your plugin, all that stuff. We'll skip that. The kind of meat of it is going to be coming to this LifterLMS integration screen on your admin panel, and enabling private areas. I've already got it enabled here, but you can just check to turn this on after you install the plugin. And there's a bunch of options here. So you know, I see some people are starting to already tell us what they call it. So this is kind of the first thing, is what is the area going to be called? And kind of the core of this is that we're going to provide you with the ability to create specific content, basically like a blog, but it's going to be a personal blog that pertains to one student and one course or membership. So that means each student can have, say if they're enrolled in 5 courses, that student could potentially have 5 different private areas, one for each of those 5 courses. and that's going to be, so the teacher, your administrator, whoever, is going to have a lot more content to manage. But I'll show you kind of how the teacher can filter down and see content specific to one student and or one course. But the core of it is the private area. So that's the kind of generic name. By default, we're going to be calling it My Private Area, but I think Jonathan threw in there, he'd call it My Office Hours. So we could call it Office Hours here. You just type that in. It's just a simple setting. Again, you can customize the URL slug in the same way. My Office Hours. And these are kind of things you're going to want to update at the beginning, set them and forget them. So I'm not going to play with any of that stuff now, but we can come back later and demo that. The second set of features here is going to be your private posts. Private areas are made up of private posts. That's going to be kind of the meat of the content. Again, think about it as a blog, but a private blog for one student about one course or membership. So we're calling those private posts. You can, again, choose to call them whatever you want. I don't know what you would call those in relation to office hours, but maybe you guys could think about that and let us know. Ultimately, it's up to you. And then we're going to have a default discussion status on each private post. Again, think like blog posts. There's commenting on blog posts, but this will be a single discussion thread between the the course author and the student or the membership leader or whatever you want to call that person. So you can choose to enable discussion by default for all your private posts when you create a new one, or you can disable it by default. That way you can only enable discussion, on a case-by-case basis if you want to enable discussion. So again, it's kind of going to be up to you how you want to use it. So that's kind of just the general settings on private areas. If we go into the back end here, the kind of meat of your content creation for the content you find in your private area or your students can find in your private area is going to be under private posts here. So it's just a new menu item that's going to drop up under LifterLMS. I should have cleared all this out. This is all my nonsense that I've been playing with over the past couple days. But it's basically just a regular post table. There's a couple pieces of information. As I said, each private post is going to relate to a course or a membership. So we'll see those courses and memberships listed here. Each one is going to belong to a specific student. Most of these are me or fake users. Don't worry about emailing these people because these email addresses are not real, I guess, except mine. And we'll show the discussion. So again, very similar to blog posts. You'll see the author, the date, et cetera, title. If we go and we create a new private post, again, very similar to a blog post. And a way we might use this is, saying like, hey, welcome to the course. And then you want to drop in some information for your student. Maybe you have them download a PDF immediately or something along those lines. Anything. It's fully functioning. You can tap into your media library. You can upload files. You can attach files, do links, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe you have a list of resources of areas on your website, like maybe FAQs or something that you want to note them about. I'm not sure. As Chris said, if you're using this for private discussion or like private webinars or screen sharing or something like that, maybe you use something like Zoom and you put your Zoom information right into here. You drop your kind of invite embed code, or I guess it's not an embed code, but you guys know what I'm talking about. You all got one for this meeting. So you can put that kind of stuff in here with information on when to meet. And then they could come back here and open up their Zoom link on the correct time or whatever. So again, very similar to a blog post. Over here, we'll have the student selection. So this will be a pre-populated area. You'll search for courses and memberships will pop up here too. We're going to use this one for the purposes of our demo here. And then I don't have a student in there yet that I want to display this to. So we'll actually jump over and I'll start showing you the kind of front end and what a student will experience. So in order to do that, I need to get into my course. This is the one I want. So again, this is all kind of just basic LifterLMS functionality. I'm just going to enroll this student. I'm going to be jumping back and forth here between the tabs too. This one, the black one, this is my incognito window that I'll have my student in. This gray one at the top, this will be my administrator. So I'll be jumping back and forth here to kind of demo this functionality. But we'll register our student. He'll enroll in the course, or yeah, actually, I guess it's a she this time, Haley. So we got enrolled, and we'll see now. I kind of glazed over this really quickly, but we've got a new widget too here. So this will be, there's some fake numbers in here, but this will kind of be the information widget and the way your student can get into their private area. So if I would have not went so quickly, you'd see that this widget didn't display anything previously because this student didn't have any private content, wasn't enrolled in the course, couldn't access it. But now that I'm enrolled, I can view my private area. And this is going to look very similar to a course. It'll have the same kind of header and title. And then this will list some private posts once they're available. So now that I am enrolled, I can publish this course, but I don't know what my email address is, so I need to find that. And where was I? So now I can search for this student, Haley Lynn, and I can publish this private post. And now this private post will be available to Haley. So again, like I said, this is very similar to a blog layout. So if I go in, create another private post for Haley, week 2, we'll call it to content and information. I don't know, whatever. Put some more Lipsum in here. And we'll publish this for Haley again. Nope. That's the email address. We'll see now we've got a second blog post here, or second private post. So a couple of things to notice here is that the URL is going to be the same for all of your students in that course. It'll be this My Private Area. which I won't jump back to the settings screen, but that's a customizable URL. So each course will have its own My Private Area URL where your students can visit it to access it. If they visit here and they don't have access to the content, they just see a regular old error message that says they don't have access to the private area. So that's kind of going to be useful for, I don't know, your emails, things like that. When we get down the road and we start talking about engagements and notifications and things like that, that'll be the URL that's sent out. This will kind of be the hub of the private area for your students on that course. And then again, if we go in and we actually view the private post, this will again look very similar. You'll notice the permalink is off that private area, and then it has its own slug, which is customizable just like anything else in WordPress. And that's kind of the long and the short of it. So you could use it if you, say, have content over the course of several weeks. You can release new private posts each week. We have a concept of automations that we'll talk about a little bit that will help you kind of scale that regular personal content automatically. Chris was talking about how this is kind of the personal content and the one-on-one to do it with you, but we still want to be able to automate that. Automation isn't evil, it's like wonderful. So we're going to have some stuff around automatically publishing private posts on a schedule. None of that exists yet, but it's all theoretical, and we will talk about it. The last kind of, I guess, interesting part here is the discussion settings. So if we enable discussion, and I guess I maybe have a bug because I thought I had my discussion settings enabled by default. But now our students can discuss things. So if Haley wants to say, hey, Thomas, this is Latin, and I don't read that. We can submit the comment. We'll have a new comment here. Again, very similar to the WordPress core functionality. And the admin now, when he's viewing this post, is going to be able to view that. So there's a couple of interesting things here that we're doing too. WordPress commenting in general doesn't have a concept of read or unread, but that's going to be really, really important, especially for the admins, maybe more so than for a student. But as an admin, you're going to have a lot of students. You're going to have a lot of communication. You're going to want to be able to know which ones you've read, which ones you haven't read. You're also going to want to know if your student has read the stuff that you've published or not. So you'll see this one shows up as blue because I'm oh, I guess maybe that's not working yet. I got to finish that. But anyway, so as the admin now, I can respond. Sorry about that. I'll fix it later or whatever. And obviously, I posted that, so it's gray. Now, when I come back as a student, we'll see I've got a new comment that's this. So we're going to be tying in your basic on-screen notifications to new comments. That'll be really great for your students. So if they're kind of in your site already and you reply or publish a new post, they'll have little basic notifications that slide over so they can then get quickly to your private content or see your new comments, things like that. Of course, that's all going to be configurable. That could be distracting. Maybe you're not into that. So you can turn that off. We'll have email stuff too that the student will be able to configure. And you can go back and forth like that. So that's kind of the discussion area. Again, this is all private, so it's one-to-one. It's between the author and the student that you've assigned that private post to. And that is discussion. I know I'm moving really quickly here, but we'll like I said, stop and come back and ask some questions later. I think
what about the mark read and unread? Mark read.
Yeah, I was clicking those. I guess I didn't finish that yet, Chris. The idea being that you can, mark things as read, but now I'm clicking it, it's not doing anything. So I either broke it this morning in a hurry to be completely finished for this webinar, or maybe it just doesn't work. I don't know. We'll have that working. But anyway, there's these mark read buttons. The idea being, as soon as you read it, you can mark it as read. And there will also be some kind of automatically marking things read. I know, like LifterLMS lessons, for example, it is kind of a pain that some students don't engage with that functionality. I've been told. So for example, if a student comes and responds to my comment, we should probably mark that read automatically. So we're going to do some stuff like that. Sorry, it's not ready for the demo. It will be ready for launch. And that's it. So let me think. So if we is there anything else that I need to cover here, Chris? I wrote down notes. I'm looking at my notes and they don't make any sense to me. So
maybe you could plant the seed of what automation is all about, what the concept is.
Yeah, so the concept here is that The concept of automations is that let's say you're doing a small coaching. Maybe you have 10 private clients. Each one has their own private area, and you're doing, let's just say, fitness training or something like that. And each week you publish a new video specifically for that person. That's probably pretty scalable. They come through your site, they register for your membership. You get an email notification as the admin that says you have a new student, and you're like, okay, great. You review maybe some information they submitted along with that application. I mean, with that onboarding. Maybe you do that through a Gravity form or something like that. Maybe you send up a follow-up email automatically through like an engagement email that says, hey, welcome to the membership. Let's get your height and weight and your fitness goals or something like that. And then you post your videos manually because you've only got 10 people. You do everything in real time. Perfect, beautiful. But maybe you have a couple thousand students, maybe you have a couple hundred courses, and you still want that kind of really personal experience. But if you wait and do everything manually in real time, or you wait to get that notification before you write up that personal content, there's going to be a delay. You're just not going to be able to keep up. Maybe somebody registers on the weekend and you're like, you know what, I really just need to hang out on Sundays. I don't want to work on Sundays and be creating private content every Sunday. So the idea of automations is that they'll basically, everybody knows what automations are. They know what Infusionsoft ActiveCampaign, you can build these follow-up sequences, things like that. So the automations here will give you the opportunity to create a set of posts that will be published on a schedule of your choosing that can be triggered off of LifterLMS engagements. So essentially, you can automatically create and schedule private posts using merge codes so that your students can automatically have private content immediately upon enrollment. Or say you don't want it to feel like it's immediate and like they know it's a merge code or whatever. Maybe you set it to be a 45-minute delay or something like that after registration. So anyway, it'll just be, the idea is that you'll basically have content areas like this, but you'll have multiple ones. And rather than saying, hello, Thomas, you'd say like, hello, first name, etc. We've all done this in MailChimp. We've all done it in ActiveCampaign, Infusionsoft, etc., etc. But you'll have a series of these so that, if you have, say, an 8-week course, you can have a new private post every week, and you could schedule those automatically. WordPress kind of already has a lot of this functionality with their, you can like publish something into the future. So we're going to tap into that so that upon enrollment, it'll kind of schedule those out. The other great thing about it, automations will be too, is that you'll be able to then come into your post and you'll see everything that's scheduled in advance for a specific student. So if you want to maybe just set up even a skeleton and automatically send out the first one and then go in and tweak the next 4 or 5 of them manually, you can do that as well. So again, this is one of those things I hate talking about the theoretical stuff because it's theoretical and it feels like vaporware, and we don't want to do that. But the reality is that we're 2 weeks out, and I can build this stuff really quickly. So that is going to exist. And does that kind of cover all that, Chris? Was there any major talking points I missed on that? My whiteboard for that stuff is kind of far away, so I'm trying not to rip my.
No, it's okay. I think we covered it. We do have a lot of questions, and before we get into questions, I just wanted to say, just in summary, private areas create a private area per student per course, and then per member per membership if you turn it on for that student. And a private area can contain one or multiple private posts. What you choose to put in your private post is up to you. Like Thomas was dropping in some Latin. You could put in pictures. You could put in YouTube, Vimeo, Wistia videos. You could put in download links. You could put all kinds of stuff inside of a private post, like a form. So there's all kinds of things that you can do in WordPress. If you've experimented with it, building pages and posts, you know that you can embed lots of different things and have multimedia content. So what you do with your private posts is up to you, and they're very flexible. So I would encourage everybody to think about that. And just in general, based on some of the questions I'm seeing, I just want to be clear that there's still a course. So like the students have their lessons, and lessons could have, if you're doing a private area associated with a course, the lesson could still be there. There can still be discussion below the lessons, But essentially what that is that's kind of like a public area. So it's important you get really clear in your mind what you want the private area to do, what do you want the lesson to do. And if you use memberships in addition to courses, that adds a layer. But yeah, just get clear on the architecture. And if anybody has any questions on that, let us know. But I think we should just start at the top of the Q&A. And I know there's a lot of questions in the chat, but we're going to work down from the top of the Q&A. And then we'll move over to chat, and then we'll take hands if anybody wants to come live and ask questions. So Teresa asks, she's not used to using LifterLMS and wonders, how does LifterLMS private areas compare to anything else in the market? Is there anything else? At LifterLMS, our approach is typically to start with the goals that our community wants and what problems they want to solve. So we build around those principles more than like, you know, kind of like a features arm race with the LMS industry. So sorry to wane philosophical on that one, but that is our general approach to, you know, where private areas comes from and how it compares. And there are a lot of terminology in the space. We have a great LMS cast episode about what is the difference between an online course, a membership site, and a learning management system. I would just add to that list now, what is private coaching? So and how you do those things and how you do them with different types of technology really varies. But our goal at LifterLMS is to create a unified experience where somebody has these tools. They can build courses, they can build membership sites if they want to, they can do private coaching and kind of do it in an integrated and, you know, non-Frankenstein-like way. That is always our goal. I do see, let's see here. Is the area name seen by students? Yes, that's what Thomas was showing. You can change it so you can call it something else if you want to. And correct me if I'm wrong, Thomas, but if no private areas exist for a student, they don't see that widget, so they wouldn't even know that that's a thing, right?
Theoretically true, but during this demo that proved to be false. So we'll okay. Fix that up before the thing. And Angie, just you'll see right here where we have the area name. What the student sees here, there needs to be some CSS tweaks and fixes before we go live with this. But the private area title will show up here. It'll also show up in the widget. So again, if you called this office hours and you save that, we'd have then office hours. So again, as Chris said at the beginning, you can call this whatever you want. Private areas is kind of our generic term, the umbrella term there. And then we'll leave it up to you to customize that how you see fit.
Awesome. Demi asks, if I have clients, can I give each client their own room to document our consultations? So that's an interesting question. There's lots of different approaches to that. The private content or the private posts is more something that the teacher publishes. That could, however, contain a form to collect information from the student. There could be conversation, like Thomas was showing in the discussion, where people could take notes in. And also there are other like third-party note-taking plugins that can be used for adding note-taking features. So it really depends. You really got to get into the nitty-gritty of what your ideal use case is in terms of notes. Mark Mays asks, will the private post custom post type be Divi enabled by Lifty?
No promises. That's a great idea. It's something I literally haven't considered. As soon as I saw that question, I wrote it down. Shouldn't be too hard to do. So I would like to say yes, it will, but I can't promise that. But it's on my backlog now. So if there's some time prior to the launch, we'll upgrade Lifty too to include that.
Gotcha. And just to be clear with everybody, you know, this is a pre-release sneak peek. And as software goes, we continually improve and build upon the product. I don't know how many versions of LifterLMS we've rolled out, but in the past several years, there have been lots of, you know, new additions and things like that. So the initial rollout, the birth of the product is on July 31st, and there's always room to add new features and stuff. So Yeah, keep it coming. Let us know what you need and what matters to you. Teresa asks, can you do bulk private posting like, hey, there's a Zoom meeting and it's for every member of a course? Perhaps you could do, if it's for every member of a course, I would almost consider potentially putting that inside the course itself if it's not really private per student. That you could, however, get fancy with some the automation feature we talked about, but where I think something like that, but I'm not 100% on that one. Do you want to add to that, Thomas? Yay or nay? Or
yeah, I mean, it's not something I've considered before, and that's actually I'm part of the reason we wanted to do this was theoretically we think of a lot of things, but we don't think of everything. If anybody's ever dealt with me in support about a feature that they want that we don't have, I'm always like, I'm sorry, I haven't considered that before. So yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I think I need to spend a little bit of time thinking about that. I can guarantee it's not going to be something we're going to roll out in version 1. But if keep an eye on it, and maybe send us an email with some more information about how you would use that. Although actually it's pretty general. I mean, your example is pretty useful there. So I can see that being useful. I'll look at it.
I also want to take a moment and zoom out for a little bit and look at the Infinity Bundle as a whole. The Infinity Bundle contains everything in the Universe Bundle, plus a new category of products we've started releasing called Advanced Add-ons. Office Hours is in there, which is a weekly meetup with me and special guests that happens today. And by the way, I'm just making an announcement. I'm going to be sending out an email after this webinar before office hours, which starts at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just to the people who have already purchased the Infinity Bundle, just to make sure if you do want to come that you know where the link is and how to get in there and whatnot. So I am going to do that. But in the broader context, the Infinity Bundle includes private areas. Next up after that is the social learning add-on, which we're not going to get into today, but it's like a Facebook-like wall where certain things, students can choose to have certain things post to the wall and have group conversations and that sort of thing. And then after that is advanced quizzing and ultimately assignments requiring manual grading. So that's, you can kind of, I guess it's just important to think like, if you use a private area and you put a form in there to collect an assignment, you can do that for now. I mean, that will be possible in the near future, but ultimately we will also be heading in the direction of having a fully integrated assignment solution for those of you looking to do that out there. And that was the whole point of us going public and accountable to you on our roadmap with our timeline, so you can see what's coming and know what to expect and plan accordingly. Because I know these projects are, they take a lot to put together sometimes, and you want to, it's good to know what's coming and what's not. And we try to let you guys know to the best of our ability. So Ronald asks, he says that Thomas and I have made a video showing, have we made a video showing how to use this plugin on your LifterLMS site? Whenever we roll out products, we do create documentation. So that sometimes includes videos, sometimes it includes text, and we continually add to the documentation over time. Sometimes other people on YouTube or in Facebook or wherever, they create videos or whatever, but just know that it is important to us to train you guys on how to use the product. You could see me right now in mid-process of building a LifterLMS website from complete scratch. And my ultimate goal is to have another training video that is a little more lightweight than our existing full feature tour demo video. But we will, have, it is important to us to show you guys how to use the private areas and private posts. So we are going to be doing documentation around that. And I just also want to add, we are doing another webinar on the launch party, which is July 31st, which is an Ask Us Anything webinar, which will also be recorded or whatever. So just throwing that out there to you, Ronald. And it's also actually just another benefit of the Office Hours product. If you want to come hang out with me, it's like a consulting time and just time for some what I like to call like power users to come together and, we talk about ideas, we talk about the product itself. If somebody's unclear on what something does, we can get into that. So that's just another benefit of getting office hours, either by itself or as part of the Infinity Bundle. Sean James asks, will there be a link from my course's student area to their private area? And the answer is that the student dashboard, which is the My Courses area, will have will it have a discussion feed, Thomas, or just a link over to how will that work?
Discussion feed is maybe going to be a version 2 feature. Okay. But there'll be kind of a list of all the private areas that you have access to. It'll be a new tab on the dashboard. So if a student has multiple, it'll be like which course it is, and then they can view their private area. We also have a couple short codes. There's this widget, which I kind of glanced over, but it's just a regular WordPress widget that'll output some information about the current private area or a specific private area by related post ID. There'll be a short code for that too. So if you're using like a page builder or something like that doesn't support widgets, you could drop that in there. And then there's also like an area link /button shortcode. So if you just wanted a direct link to a specific private area, you could output that with the shortcode. So there's going to be a couple automatic things and a couple things that you can configure on your own.
Awesome. Harry asked if you could post for all students. I think we kind of already covered that one. Angie asks, are the notifications for the admin when a new comment is made by a student? So how closely related is this to WordPress comments versus private area? How would you answer that question, Thomas?
The backbone is the WordPress comments functionality. I mean, it runs off the comments table. Your comments will, on the admin panel, any private area, everything you'll see on my screen right here is all from private area posts. So you'll see all that stuff. But on the actual private post on the admin panel, I lost the screen. Oh, I just left it. We kind of rolled out our own display functionality and our own posting functionality. So again, it utilizes the WordPress commenting system, but we wanted to have some additional features like the mark read, mark unread functionality. Okay, so the core question though is related to notifications. So the WordPress core emails are related to new comments, will not fire for these. And here's the reason why. All of those are built around, I think when I view them, to me, they look like trying to mitigate spam and manage spam. So you're approving, you're marking things as spam, you're trashing things all from within the email. Whereas what we're trying to do here is promote conversation. So we have our own series of email notifications, and like I mentioned too, the on-screen basic notifications for both admins and students related to both new posts that have been published in a private area and new comments that have been made on a private area. And these are going to be more around re-engaging. So for an administrator, for the course author, teacher, whatever you want to call them, those notifications are going to be around one, knowing, like just being aware of what's going on in their private areas and that their students are re-engaging with them, but then also direct links back so that they can reply to them easily. We're not worried about spam posts because you can't post these unless you're logged in. And if they came through somehow, people spamming your comments.php file or however they do that, you will get the basic, the regular WordPress email, so you can mitigate the spam that way. If you're using Akismet or anything like that, all that stuff will still function because they are WordPress comments. But we're gonna have our own notifications. So I think that's a long way of saying that yes, there will be admin notifications when a new comment is made by a student. Sorry for being long-winded.
It's all good. Michelle asks, will students be able to upload a document in discussion or somewhere? So this is what I was talking about earlier, where ultimately in the product roadmap of Lifter, we are going to be doing a assignment requiring manual grading, fully integrated deal. But you could, and some people are doing this now, they're putting forms inside of LifterLMS lessons that have an upload field in there. That people, upload a picture of something or upload a document or a video, audio, whatever. So yeah, you could do that in a private area as well in terms of forms. There's Gravity Forms. Ninja Forms, Formidable. Those are some respected form plugins. We haven't tested all that ourselves in private areas, but yeah, when you open up the world of forms, there's a whole world of stuff you can do with forms that continually amaze me. So I'd encourage you to spend a little time looking at form plugins. Sean James, merge tags for student name would be great for personalization.
Not a question. Thank you, Sean.
Allianz asks, hey, I want to know if there's any recurring expenses. Is there quizzes I can arrange? Is there any exams we can conduct online for students? This is more of a general LifterLMS question. So there's a pricing page on the LifterLMS website. There's a kind of a simplified version, and then at the bottom there's a big button that goes to the detailed pricing page. The core LifterLMS plugin is free. Then we have, which allows you to create, protect, and sell via manual payments your online courses, and the engagement system we have. Then we have add-ons, third-party integrations like Stripe, PayPal, Gravity Forms, ConvertKit, MailChimp. And then we have design add-ons like our Launchpad theme, which is designed to work specifically and give you options without having to write code to adjust, colors and styles and stuff like that LifterLMS creates. And then we have this new category. And then you can get a bundle of that in the Universe bundle. And then we introduced a new category of add-ons like private areas, which are more of an advanced feature set for the professional institution, coach, mentor, trainer, and that sort of thing. And those are available a la carte for $199 or via the Infinity bundle. So in LifterLMS, our add-ons or our bundles of add-ons are sold with licenses. Licenses give you access to new updates, new improvements, security patches, new features. If you have a bundle, we introduce new products to our various bundles, get access to those. So if you want those kinds of updates, you'll need to have a current license. So it's an annual subscription. It also gives you access to our support system, which is where you can submit a ticket and the LifterLMS team will help you. So I would encourage you to check out the pricing page. And because we have all these different levels, I know it can be kind of confusing, but just check it out and please feel free to let us know if you have any more questions about pricing. And the last point on that is just that we are in a pre-purchase or pre-launch pricing window for private areas. So right now, if you were to get private areas at the current price, which is $169, you're locking in that subscription price for now and also when it renews in a year. And you're also locking in the Infinity bundle at $449 if you get it before July 31st ends, before the launch party is over. And then that price is going up. Ultimately, the Infinity bundle is going to climb towards just under $1,000 at $999. So the sooner you get it, if you plan on being around for a while, the better. It's a way for us to reward you for investing before all the advanced add-ons are ready, and you're helping us, continue to grow and invest more into the products and the team. Farouk asks, will we need to install bbPress or BuddyPress to have private area and private discussions to work? Followed by the comment, I hope not. Thomas, you want to take that one?
No, resounding no. And if I can go off topic and just kind of plug a little bit of what we're planning to do in 6 months with other premium add-ons in the Infinity bundle is BuddyPress and bbPress are both great and they serve their purposes, but they're extremely heavy. They're really complicated to set up. And what we've tried to do with LifterLMS is build, we're trying to build a social learning environment that does not rely on these very weighty plugins. So that's where kind of this particular thing is more the one-on-one, not the social, where the bbPress and BuddyPress are very group oriented. So that'll kind of be the next set of features, which you can learn more about over the next couple months as we start to roll out our social learning add-ons. But for private areas, all of the discussion is 100% built on WordPress commenting. So all you'll need is the private areas plugin to make that work. No other, well, and LifterLMS, but no other dependencies.
Awesome. And Teresa, thank you for the kind words. She says, I do like that LifterLMS provides a free plugin to use, and she's impressed so far. Very easy to use. Thank you. We appreciate that. Our goal with making the core LifterLMS software free is very powerful as a free plugin. And our goal is to allow you, especially as a course creator, especially if you're creating paid courses, to get your course up, validate it, get some sales before you even invest in any of our premium add-ons. So we're here for you. We're here for the course creator, and we want you to see what you can do with a free plugin before you start getting into our add-ons. Sean James asks, Bo D asked about cost. We've already covered that, so I'm just going to move on from that. Again, just head on over to lifterlms.com and click on the pricing tab, or go to the store, which is the add-ons link at the top of lifterlms.com. Sean James asks, will there be a link to the student memberships, courses, private area, and the student dashboard? Yes, we covered that one. Demi asks, but I can make it one-to-one. I'm not sure I understand the question, but private areas are designed for one-to-one. That's what it's mostly for, is the direct link between the teacher and the student, or the member. Peter asks, the area name is a custom field that can be treated as a field in Beaver Themer. Do you know the answer to that one, Thomas? I don't.
I haven't spent any time working with Themer yet, but my general understanding from talking to Justin is that Themer works off options and post metadata and things like that. Everything we're doing in private areas, whether it be so the custom fields on the posts are post metadata, and the area name that you're referring to is just on the options table. So I'm fairly certain Beaver Builder and Beaver Themer and things like that are something that we do plan to be adding some more direct integrations with in the near future. I just off the top of my head, I'm not positive. Theoretically, it should work. If you give it a shot and you have issues, please let us know, because I'd like to make sure we're doing stuff that works really, really well with them. So.
Awesome. And then Peter also asked, can I use assistants to support the students? This is a popular request. Down the road, we will get into more advanced group functionality and teacher role stuff. But for right now, you would need to build a your own custom role that could access what you wanted them to access. Is that a fair way to say it, Thomas?
Yeah, and not even necessarily a custom role, but it'll just, LifterLMS right now works off permissions. So by default, most of the content is accessible by administrators. So if you wanted to say like a WordPress editor or something like that, we'll have a couple filters. It'll be documented. So it won't be a nice point and click UI for doing it, but you'll be able to make it possible if you have even half an hour to add a little bit of custom PHP to a custom plugin or something like that.
Awesome. Bo D asks, like a broadcast to all students personalized. The broadcast to all students personalized is more like, that's why we integrate with email marketing add-ons like MailChimp and ConvertKit, and also WP Fusion, made by a company called Very Good Plugins. It's a great plugin. We use it on the LifterLMS demo. That sends people, subscribers to various lists and applies tags in ActiveCampaign. Those tools are really helpful for when you think of an email broadcast. Maybe you want to send to everybody on your platform. Maybe you want to send to people in your a specific course. Maybe you want to exclude people in one course or one membership or whatever. That's what those email marketing integrations are. And we have a great podcast episode on LMS Cast about the 5 different types of email. I would encourage you to check that out, and it'll likely help clarify your thinking in terms of with all the different types of emails. And come back to me if you have specific questions after you check out that podcast episode. Ronald asks, must I have LifterLMS installed in order to attend your office hours? No, you do not. You just need to either have purchased office hours by itself or be an Infinity Bundle customer with an active license. And like I mentioned, we are going to be office hours starts in 2 hours from right now. And before that time, we're going to be sending out an email to everybody just reminding them of the how to access and get inside that room. Steve asks, where will you have a recording of the webinar in order to view it again? We're going to email you, Steve. There's going to be an email that goes out a little later with a link to a replay page that'll have the video on it. Allian says, thanks, Chris, for answering my questions. You're welcome. Ronald asks, how easy or difficult would it be to integrate Active Campaign with Lifter? We're Active Campaign users ourselves. I really love it. It's my favorite email marketing and CRM solution that I've used. And we integrate with it via WP Fusion. That's not made by us. It's made by a third-party developer. It is in our store. You can go to LifterLMS.com and see the product in the store. We help get the word out about it because it's such a great product, has incredible support, and it allows you to integrate Lifter with Active Campaign, Infusionsoft, Drip, Entreport, and I believe they might have added a few more. But that's how you make Lifter LMS and Active Campaign do things together. Great product. Is there a combination of Thrive Themes, Lifter LMS, and WooCommerce too heavy? Too heavy is a relative term. Thomas, how much can you bench press or power clean?
I don't know in pounds. 115 kilos maybe.
Thomas is a weightlifter, Olympic weightlifter, I think you say. I'm not sure what the terminology, but so heavy is in the eye of the beholder. So in my experience, it depends on where your skill level is at as a technologist, just like climbing a mountain or going camping. When people first go camping or climbing, they have all this gear. And then as they get better, they do it with a lot less tools. So if I was an advanced user, I would try to do what I was trying to do with the fewest amount of tools possible, the fewest amount of different companies involved as possible. But there is a time and a place for integrating with third parties. For example, we highly recommend integrating Lifter LMS with Active Campaign. One of our last webinars, we did a presentation on how to sell with ClickFunnels but deliver courses in Lifter LMS. And so there's all kinds of different things you can do. But if you're happy with Thrive Themes, which is a great option for, it has some nice, general design and landing page stuff, and opt-in forms, squeeze pages, all of those things. If you're happy with that and you're happy with using WooCommerce to sell, you're good to go. So yeah, it's really a relative question. We do have a piece of documentation about should I use WooCommerce or should I use the native Lifter LMS e-commerce system to sell? And I would encourage you to check out that piece of documentation and start from there. So in most cases, if you don't need WooCommerce to sell, you're better off with sticking with Lifter and using the amazing Lifter LMS access plans, depending upon how complex your pricing and your access models are. But there definitely is a time and a place for WooCommerce, dealing with tax issues or if you need a payment gateway that they have and we don't. Those are kind of some of the main reasons. Or if you're selling courses and memberships in a store combined with other products, it's another great reason to use our WooCommerce add-on in addition to using WooCommerce. Aliens asked,
if I could just, having a theme and Lifter LMS and a payment gateway is not too heavy. There's it's kind of like if you're using Lifter LMS, you need a theme, you need Lifter LMS, you need a way to accept payments, unless you're doing everything completely offline, or I know there are users that don't need any payment gateway with Lifter LMS, in which case it's kind of irrelevant. But so that combination there is absolutely not too heavy. If you have, say, 50 plugins aside from that installed, that might get into too heavy. But again, it's all, like Chris said, relative. I'd really like to note, I see people get stressed out about getting the perfect combination of everything. And that's not necessary. Like it's really not necessary to figure out what the ideal combination of marketing plugins and landing page things and all that stuff. It's like the ideal combination is whatever you can use to get your course launched and your audience aware of it so that they could start taking your course. So there really is no perfect combination. It's whatever you're most comfortable with. And the end goal is getting your students your content. So it's what I try to think of. We get those kind of questions a lot, and it's so subjective. So
Good points. Aliens ask, is there a ready-made theme with LMS free? So in the WordPress ecosystem, I think there's thousands or tens of thousands of free themes out there. So, and LifterLMS is a plugin that's designed to be so that you could change themes at any time, and it's not a big deal. You know, the plugins are for functionality, themes are for design. That's our general standpoint on that. So yeah, I would just encourage you to check out and find a quality free theme. Maybe ask in the LifterLMS Facebook group what free themes people like using. And,
Generate Press is really, really popular among our users, and I don't see hardly any issues with it. They do have a premium version. I'm not exactly sure what the difference between the free and premium versions is, but I'm recommending that a lot recently as a free plugin, or free theme rather. So I check that one out if you have no idea where to start. And then I think I don't remember the name of it. There's somebody's doing a series of videos with a pre-made child theme off Generate Press. I think it's free. Somebody in our Facebook group probably knows what I'm talking about. That's like a LifterLMS specific child theme for Generate Press. I think it's free. You asked in the Facebook group. Sorry, I don't know off the top of my head.
Teresa, a big thumbs up to you too. Thank you. Who is Kathy? Kathy is awesome. Kathy works at LifterLMS, as does Allie, pictured here. And so yeah, LifterLMS is it's more than just me and Thomas. And Aweber, we do not have an Aweber integration, and it's not on our it's not a priority. I do see that request from time to time, but it's really low in terms of volume of what people are trying to integrate with. So unfortunately, we don't have an Aweber integration. Patty asks, I want my students to be able to customize their class. I could see where private areas might work for that, but is there another add-on that would work better where the students could have more control? The idea is that students would be able to pick their songs for their half-hour dance fitness class. All right, this is a good one. This is what private areas is all about, or I shouldn't say that. This is what we're all about, is seeing how we could work with a very specific situation. So if a student has to pick a song for their class, I mean, they could submit a form. They could you could give them a list of songs that they need to choose. You could have a survey. I don't know. There'd be different ways to know about that. I'd probably need to hear a little bit more detail on the full user flow of once they pick the song. Are they just voting, or what is the if they're customizing their class and picking a song? Like, I need to know more about the full user experience to really advise on that, and even say whether or not you would need private areas for that. Any comments, Thomas?
Honestly, that question went a little bit above my head, but I'm thinking that might be one of those. Chris is really keen on talking about gravity forms and different form integrations here, and I was very keen before the webinar, saying that I'm not demoing anything I haven't tested yet. But theoretically, you could drop a gravity form into a private post. Say, you know, when I talk about the automations, and you can kind of drop that in, and maybe the first step of their course is that they pick a song through a gravity form or something like that. And again, though, it like in a way, you almost don't even need that. You can almost do that via an email, which, you know, so I always
lesson one.
Yeah. So I mean, I do want people to buy this, but I don't want people to use things just because we're marketing it well or something. You know, maybe it doesn't make sense for your particular needs. And yeah, like Chris said, maybe that's just lesson one is, you know, leave a comment with your song or something like that. I'm not exactly sure how you're doing that. If like each course is really private, I'm not sure what you're doing with those courses. That might be a good thing to come and get some consulting on through Chris's office hours. But I think you might generally be able to do that. You might not. I think the really interesting thing about private areas is when we want to get some feedback here, because I think this isn't actually something that Chris or I came up with. This is something that Chris Lemma came up with and has been, pestering us to build for 2-3 years maybe. And we're starting to see more and more of you guys, the users, are wanting this. So we're going to kind of give you a tool set, and you're going to figure out how to use it, and then we're going to iterate the product off the back end of your feedback and comments and what we see you start to do with it. So maybe not, I don't know.
So Marco asked if it makes sense, but he wants to apply tags in active campaign from inside the private area. So it's a really, I guess the high level answer to that question is, if you could apply a tag somehow from inside any WordPress post or page, you could do it inside of private areas. So that comes back to the
WP Fusion.
Yeah. There's different ways to approach that, but having not tested that myself, I couldn't get into that one yet. Ronald asks, thanks, Chris. Not only answered my question about Active Campaign, but helped me to make up my mind on my impression about Active Campaign. I had a demo of Active Campaign this morning. That's great. We were very happy with Active Campaign. Victor asks, what is the most versatile commercial theme that you would recommend to use with LifterLMS? Is it Divi? Some of the most popular LifterLMS commercial or premium themes are Divi. That is a popular one. Divi and the Elegant Themes has a huge community. And if you're comfortable with Divi and you've been using Divi and you like it, you should just keep using it. We also have a theme called Launchpad. Thomas mentioned how good GeneratePress works, and they have a premium version. That's probably a good option for you. I would encourage Genesis and StudioPress. I mean, they have like all those Genesis child themes. So I would encourage you to join the LifterLMS Facebook group and ask that question to the community, because people get very opinionated about themes, and it's good to select a broad, do a broad swath of what people think. But those are three that a lot of people are using that we mentioned. Also, I'd like to highlight Michelle Noonan has one, Divi Soup, that we recommend, called Ventura. There's another one called Course Lady that we recommend. And there's another one called Consult Press. And these are some people that have built LifterLMS or built themes with LifterLMS in mind. So we help promote those in our store. So check those out. Sean James asks, MailerLite integration on the potential roadmap. It's still something that we're just not seeing a groundswell on. It might also be worth asking on that one, WP Fusion, if they might be interested in doing that, because they're always adding different things to what they do. So like there's a WordPress side and a CRM side. Maybe they'll add MailerLite. So I don't know, just an idea to maybe throw it out there, but we do have that on our feature voting right now, but no immediate plans. Harry asks, get response. Same thing. I'm not, even less than MailerLite. I'm just not seeing a groundswell for that one. And I also just want to add that the LifterLMS community and the open source community of WordPress is, we're always working to help empower other companies and businesses if they want to build their own add-ons for LifterLMS, whether those are themes, other plugins. We do a lot of work with translation people around the world who are trying to get Lifter working better, or just the language displaying in different, the many different languages of humanity. So there's also just opportunity for other shops to focus on integrations, especially. We're really focused like a laser on the student and the learning experience. Integrations, yes, they are important, but what kind of guides our focus is results. The students getting results and empowering teachers to construct a learning experience that gets results and really works. So that's kind of what, how we focus what to build next. In addition to your feedback, the community feedback, if everybody here was saying get response, we may look at it a little closer, but not at this time. Patty said they would pick the video of the song. That's yeah, we're just like we mentioned. It's not sure if that would go in a lesson or a private area or not. There are different ways to do that, or it could just be a comment on lesson one. Like you could say in lesson one, like, hey, leave a comment below this lesson with the video that you want for your song. Teresa asks, outside of your built-in gateway, what are you seeing as a popular shopping cart? WooCommerce, Thrivecart, other. So I see WooCommerce is like the most popular besides what we do, and the reason for that is that WooCommerce has been around for a while. It was bought by the parent company that kind of created WordPress called Automatic. It's quickly swelling in terms of e-commerce market share, if you will, like with the big players like Magento, Shopify, these types of things. WooCommerce is an amazing product, and they've spent a long time developing on their own and through technology partners like we're talking about. Other third-party companies are building businesses on top of WooCommerce where they build payment gateways. Last time I looked, I saw like, I don't know, 7 different pages of payment gateways. So
I think there's about 200-ish.
Okay. So we have 2. Well, we have PayPal and we have Stripe. And then we allow you to build a bridge between your LifterLMS site and WooCommerce, and therefore by default tap into their payment gateways. So WooCommerce is a very popular one. Then we see these ones like about Thrivecart, Samcart, and other things. So there's different ways to do that. We have, if you search our documentation, if you're selling with a different system, you can deliver a voucher code, and you just need to give them instructions on where to do that. You could check out what's possible with WP Fusion if you're using active campaigns. So what I mean by that is if somebody purchases something through your Thrivecart sales funnel and you're able to apply a tag in active campaign, by applying a tag in active campaign, if you have WP Fusion, you can immediately spool up a user on a different website, your LifterLMS website, and enroll them in specific memberships. So that's a neat solution. If you're using ClickFunnels, Dennis Hall has an add-on to integrate ClickFunnels to LifterLMS and activate a membership or course. We have a webinar about that. So at the bottom of the LifterLMS.com, there's a link under the About section called Webinars, and in that you can see a link to an interview we did with Patrick Murray about ClickFunnels. So that might be worth checking out. So really, there's a lot of options. Glad to hear you're using ActiveCampaign. If that's the case, check out the magic that is WP Fusion. Victor asks, are you guys planning to have a market for courses as a product? I would like to buy courses already set up for academic use with syllabus, 1 semester training program, and in learning to use LifterLMS. Hold on, I just want to reread that question, make sure I understand what you're asking.
I think he's asking if we're selling a course on how to use LifterLMS. I think that's what it's saying. Is that how you understand it?
I'm not sure. Let me just kind of talk around that one. The LifterLMS does have a course import and export tool where you can basically export a course from one LifterLMS site and load it into another one. That's an interesting concept. Perhaps there's some market stuff for that. Like if you go through the LifterLMS quick setup wizard, we actually give you a LifterLMS training course that is kind of using that import functionality. But I'm not sure in terms of like reselling courses, I'm not seeing a lot of stuff in that department. I will say though, with LifterLMS X API, which is made by Learning Templates over there, that stuff is a little more sellable in terms of transferring e-learning authored content, but that gets into a whole nother world of making courses with the authoring tools and things like that. which is like Adobe Captivate and Storyline and those types of products, which is a kind of a whole ecosystem in and of itself. So maybe send me an email, Victor, with more detail to team@lifterlms.com, and we can see if we can get into that one in more detail. So, okay, gotcha. That I believe that answers all our Sean, thanks for the kind words. Awesome. Demi's going to call them consultation rooms. That's a great call. Yep. Some other people calling it office hours. So Bo is doing a webinar interactives with homework and review. Very cool. Mark, yep, I noticed that. I think my slides were off one, so sorry about that. I'm actually going to re-edit the video, the replay, so that's a little better. But maybe on the next one, I'll figure out Keynote with 2 monitors attached. Anthony's private area. I'm not sure. I don't think so. Jonathan asked, could the area name have a short code so it could say something like Anthony's private area? I think that's not quite in the out of the box. Would you agree, Thomas?
Interesting. It's interesting. Not a feature I'm going to commit to building, but I'll consider it.
But noted. Noted. That's how you. That's how you plant a seed. Let's see. So each student, Bo asked, so each student has its own password. How do you trigger group discussion? So LifterLMS at its core is a learning management system. So it's an online course. It's a membership site. It kind of solves all the problems in those markets. Which one of the major ones is that people do have a user as they check out and purchase a course or go through the enrollment process in a free course. They are in fact creating their user login and password. So that is there just with the default LifterLMS. Group discussion can happen in many different ways. The most simple way is the lesson comments below each lesson. Or can you have a private area for a course as well as an individual? Private area for the course is the course itself. And I think it's important to note that the course page, the course description, if you will, there's a feature in LifterLMS where you can have 2 versions of that, the unenrolled view and the enrolled view. Simple way to look at that is the unenrolled view is the sales page, and the enrolled view is exactly what you're talking about. It's the private area for the course. And then, of course, you have the lessons themselves with all the comments below them. Yes, Peter, this webinar will be...
Chris, if I can just back up there. I think the way I would answer that question, because I'm not sure you... If I was Maria, I'd be like, I'm not sure you answered my question. The private area is specific to a course and a student. So if you have 5 students in your course, you could potentially have 5 different private areas, 1 for each student. So I think the question you're asking is, what if I don't want it to be specific to a course, but I just want a private area for me to communicate directly with my student? And that's where everything we've demoed here today duplicates over to functionality available on memberships. So I think what you'd actually want to do in that scenario, if you want a private area specific to a student that isn't really specific to a course also, is do a private area based off the membership, so that your student can, join the membership, and then you'll have your private area there attached to that membership.
Very good explanation. I appreciate that. And if anybody wants, let us know. I know it's often helpful and it can be confusing, the difference between a course and a membership and what's possible with memberships with LifterLMS. If anybody wants me to do a quick thing on that, just let me know in the chat. Yes, we're going to have a replay. Yep, Peter, we're always open to feedback. Is there quizzes for student? Is there exams we can conduct with LifterLMS? So the whole LifterLMS quiz functionality, which is actually part of the free core LifterLMS plugin, that's there. That's already there for you. And one of the things that, as I'm describing the difference to somebody between a learning management system and an online course, a learning management system typically has a lot more detail in terms of reporting. So you can actually log in to the reporting area of Lifter as the site administrator, look at the reporting, see how certain people did on their various quiz attempts, give somebody another chance if they maxed out on their quiz attempts, if you did give it a limit and stuff like that. So, but that's all core LifterLMS functionality. Let's see.
Mike, I saw something about this earlier in the chat too. Mike Stoner asks, can a student initiate a private area inquiry to the instructor without a private post already existing? The answer to that is no. If the course instructor doesn't post a private post, there's not going to be a way for the student to comment on it. So there won't be just kind of like an empty comment thing where the student can say, hey, give me a post or something like that. But that's where that kind of automation stuff we talked about comes into place, so that you could actually set it up so that anytime a student enrolls into a course, they automatically get their first private post. That can be triggered off, say in enrollment. Oh, and this is something else that's maybe kind of interesting, is that when you get into the different engagement triggers, you can we're going to be adding one to the LifterLMS course that you can trigger. And this has been a long time feature request, so it's going to be coming in conjunction with the release of private areas, will be the ability to trigger engagements off of specific access plans as opposed to just a specific course, which would allow you to essentially have an access plan that upsells you to a private area, so that somebody who just buys the course for, say, the $10 price doesn't get private areas, but you could have a private area for them if they spend, say, $100 on the course or something along those lines. But anyway, so all that to say, you could trigger your first default post with an automation, and then the student can respond to you in that area because it'll exist already.
That's awesome. And Amy is just confirming the desire to have those templates, a template of posts.
Oh, yeah. And then Amy below that wants Divi also. So I've got 3 check marks for Divi already. So I think we're pretty much going to have to do that.
Divi is, you guys with Divi are very vocal, but we appreciate it. We appreciate passionate users. We appreciate all the passionate LifterLMS users out there. Let's see. Yeah, Mar is saying something about she's excited there's a shortcode option. She really dislikes sidebars. So in LifterLMS, you can have a sidebar. We have the course progress widget, a syllabus widget. But if you don't want to use sidebars, sure thing. You can use a shortcode solution. Susan, can the student send a post to start a conversation, or is it the teacher who starts it?
Again, that's like basically what we just talked about with Mike. So the enrollment will kind of be able to trigger the creation of private posts, but the student can't initiate. A student cannot create private posts, but a student can comment on an already created private post.
Or interact with the post if it has something on it. Or a student can also initiate a conversation just on a lesson comment. So there's different ways to think about it. You could also, private posts don't have to be fully automated either. Like you could have a way for people to contact you that only enrolled students can see. And then if they contact you and you decide that you want to create a private post because of that, you could. So you can do it manually, or you can kind of figure out this automation plan as well. All right, just a little confirmation on BuddyPress and BBPress.
I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat that we haven't answered. Again, if you guys still have questions, please use the Q&A. It makes it a little easier for us to to sift through these. So sorry if we've missed your questions in the chat. If we have, please put them into the Q&A area. Chris, we do have a couple more questions in the Q&A if you want to start back up there.
Sure. Peter asks, I think the use of the private areas can be used to see that people have done their work and they are ready to be let into the group. Talking about the lesson. Yeah, that's I know some of the stuff Peter's up to, and yeah, if you're looking at a way, if you have a private area for people to interact with as a kind of a qualifying mechanism to see your application, if you will, to get into a more even inner circle or advanced user group, that would be possible. Demi asks, can I just check that private area can be membership specific so they don't require a course and only a membership? I was confused by the last answer. So I would just say that a private area is a, yeah, there you go. We'll just watch Thomas.
So here, when you're creating your private posts, you can select a course or a membership. Everything I demoed before, I was working off that how to build LifterLMS course. But I've got some memberships in here. So this one, for example, is a membership. And then, so if I had a student enrolled in there, you could use the short codes I was talking about to put private area information on your membership. So you do not need to use courses in order to use private areas. You can use memberships.
Awesome.
And you could use them both. So if you had both courses and memberships, you could use them both simultaneously for different students.
Awesome. And Ronald, he does want the explanation on membership versus the course. So the way I like to explain this is lessons are automatically protected by a course. A course can be free or paid, and there's all kinds of different access plans that you can create and payment styles for that access. What a LifterLMS membership is for selling bundles of courses as one offer. It's for bundling in non-LMS content. So if you had a course, but then you also got access to some live event or another page on the website that has a bunch of download links on it, you could use a membership to bundle in non-LMS content. And some people even use memberships for just non-LMS content altogether. So those are the different ways to use that. I usually try to talk people out of using memberships unless they need to. For a lot of people, they just need courses and they need to set up access plans to a course. And the most simple course, if it's paid, has a one-time price. Then oftentimes a second access plan might be for a kind of a payment plan. And those are that's the most common use of it. But LifterLMS can scale into various use cases via memberships and the access plans. And then Teresa asks, in ThriveCart, one of the options allows for Apple Pay by enabling Stripe. Is Apple Pay an option in LifterLMS? We don't have a direct integration with Apple Pay. But if you could do that with WooCommerce, there might be a way. I just haven't tested that myself. I know that the company Learning Templates has their own integration to integrate a Stripe checkout with LifterLMS activation, course, or membership on a different site. So you might look into that. But yeah, we don't have an official Apple Pay integration that I could directly speak to. But thank you for the question.
I dropped a feature request for it. Apple Pay is one of the APIs and payment methods available via Stripe. One of the maybe misconceptions or something is just because you use Stripe doesn't mean you can use all the features. Not all plugins are created equal. In short, I haven't written the code to enable and utilize those APIs for Apple Pay. And then there's probably 4 or 5 new European-based payment methods that Stripe has recently added. They're all something I would like to build. I haven't seen actually anybody ask for Apple Pay yet in LifterLMS, but there is a feature request up there if you guys want to go vote on it. Voting on the feature request is really important because that lets us know what you guys actually want as opposed to what is maybe a nice to have. So in the meantime, if you do want to use Apple Pay via Stripe, you can use WooCommerce. Absolutely. It works already. It's part of WooCommerce Stripe. So if you use LifterLMS with WooCommerce and WooCommerce Stripe, you're set. But the native LifterLMS Stripe does not yet have an Apple Pay integration.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming to this webinar. Good to spend some time with you, Thomas. And Ali and Kathy, thank you for coming on this call and helping run it and all of that. And thank you, everyone who's come and sharing this conversation with us, letting us know how you might use private areas, giving us feedback. And I hope you enjoyed the sneak peek of what's coming on July 31st with the initial rollout of the first version of LifterLMS private areas. If you'd like to take advantage of some pre-launch pricing, you'll need to do that, either get private areas or invest or upgrade into the Infinity Bundle before July 31st, which is our launch party day. I'm going to take one more question from Angie here, and then we're going to close it out. How do you handle this scenario? Teacher posts a welcome post, and the student responds to it with a new question that has nothing to do with the welcome post. As the teacher, ideally, I want separate private post threads to be about specific topics and not a continuous thread of unrelated topics. How to handle this? That's a little bit of there's a lot of detail that goes into that one. For example, there are the lessons below, or the comments below a lesson, which you want a little more organization. So if you want to do it in public, that's kind of where a forum comes in, where you have topics and conversations around specific topics and various permissions over who can do that. Private areas is more for the one-on-one interaction. So that's just at a high level, you got to pick your tools. But in most cases, I always say the simplest solution is the best. So before you go to private areas, before you go out to forums, before you go out to Facebook groups, or other forum solutions outside of WordPress, you can. But just get really clear on what you need and ask yourself, could just a conversation below this lesson facilitate that?
I'll also just note, it's kind of a question more so of how do you interact with your students, right? So you've now given them this private area, you've welcomed to the thing, and they've come out and asked you a question. So I can't foresee us ever building software that's going to automatically prevent students from going off topic. You're doing one-to-one communication at this point. So your students maybe are going to go off topic, in which case, what is your next step? Maybe you just create a new post about the topic that has gone off topic from your welcome email, and then you can just reply to your student and say, hey, why don't you check out the new post, which is about that subject, and we can continue discussion there. That way it is threaded and more streamlined and segmented the way you want it to. But I always look at issues like that as a software developer, and I'm like, can software solve that? Maybe machine learning can, maybe artificial intelligence can, but really it's you as a teacher. How do you communicate with somebody? And if you look at a real world scenario where you're one-on-one with somebody, doing live in-person coaching, things are going to be all over the place, right? And it would be the same thing, except you're not in real time now. So it's actually almost easier to just respond there and just handle that in a different way. You're going to be able to delete comments if that really stresses you out. Potentially, maybe there's a way to move comments around. You create a new post and move that comment somewhere else. But I think you're really just that's something that you maybe don't need software to solve. It's just how do you handle that as a human, as a teacher with your student. No, I'm not being tremendously judgmental here. I think, is that a software problem, or is that just a problem of how you relate to your students or your coachees or whoever you're coaching, whatever the word is for that. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for coming. Everybody that is part of the Infinity Bundle or has the office hours product, if you're available, I look forward to connecting with you in about a little over an hour. And like I said, we're going to resend the details to those people who have those licenses to get in there. So thank you again, everybody. And if anybody has further questions related to private areas or the Infinity Bundle, feel free to email us at team@lifterlms.com, and we'll field those questions. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. That's it for the recording. Take care.